So what affects basically temperature bandwidth? We can go through them quickly. The stage of incubation. The incubator design itself, how well is it thermally insulated? How well does it protect itself from its outside and exterior environment? The efficiency of the airflow, the distribution, and how the trolleys are orientated. Heating and cooling. The efficiency of cooling angles. The efficiency of turning angles, sorry. Sectional egg mass control. Where are you actually measuring the actual temperature within the machine itself? And of course, the accurate calibration. Let's go to the stage of incubation. Now the trick here is to understand the state, actually the heat cycle and the actual cycle itself in terms of the amount of heat that's being generated all the way through the actual incubation cycle. And then you match your stage program to optimize on those conditions. So in the first 7 days of incubation, you have very high humidity. Because you have very high humidity, it means that the actual thermal energy within that actual setter, within that air, is very high. So you're not really reliant too much on airspeed. So it is a time, then if you want to save your energy then, because you don't need the actual fan speed. In fact, actually, in terms of that energy saving, if you take the laws of fans, if you can actually reduce the fan speed by 20%, that reduces the power by 50. These are all the powerful things that you can do in terms of not just the actual efficiency of hatching chicks, but also energy as well. And they go hand in hand, they really do. So as you go through into the damper opening, as the eggs become exothermic, of course they're going to need more and more oxygen. So that's why you need then to open a damper. So like I said, this is why we're talking about the endothermic stage, the mid stage, and then the stages when we really need to accelerate, when the actual heat production is really accelerating at that point. Just quickly going on this one, and this is really important. This is because the construction of the incubator is in fact vital to ensure that you've got good thermal insulation. Now, I don't know how many of you have hatcheries, but typically construction of a cabinet would consist of insulation panels, and then they would use aluminium sections to actually join the panels together to the integrity of the hatchery, of the actual incubator. That's a big mistake, because mostly it's aluminium sections. Aluminium, is a good conductor of heat. So you're destroying that thermal insulation. If you could just quickly imagine two setters within a setter room, and they've got a common wall. One setter might have fresh eggs that have just been loaded, and the one on the other side might be at 15 days. At that point in time, you've got a huge temperature difference. And this is where you can get cold spots, condensation, and this is definitely what drags hatches. It affects the actual temperature bandwidth. So we tend to use a panel system where they actually interlock, so we don't have to use the actual metal framework. We have, for our door assemblies, we have removable seals. That makes it easy to actually clean. And also we have high ceiling dampers to ensure that we can contain the actual gaseous environment. So rapid heating just shows how important thermal insulation really is. Just to go a little bit about airflow and trolley orientation, what we do, we use a floor-to-ceiling paddle frame assembly. We are able to actually do forward and reverse on that fan. So this is all very important to ensure that we good mix of air all the time to actually maximize on on that air distribution and minimize the actual temperature differences. So just to give you an impact, remember I was talking about how air velocity is extremely important? Well, this is a good example. Right, so our configuration of our incubators is such that you've only got one trolley either side of the fan. What does that mean? It means that the actual air, the distance for the air has to travel only is one trolley's depth. Yet we know that there are other manufacturing suppliers that have 3 trolleys. Well, if you've got 3 trolleys, further for the air to go, right? So it loses its legs. If it loses its legs, what does that mean? Less efficient in terms of heat transfer. So this is why we only, so it's not just about how good your fan is, it's also about the actual shape, configuration of the incubator itself. So in heating and cooling, like I said, in terms of the good airflow, good street, good airflow, and good air velocities, we also need to make sure we've got adequate heating and cooling capacity to actually move that heat. Efficiency of turning angles, another important feature. We use 24-volt DC actuators to do that. We're not relying on a mechanical system. Because the trouble with mechanical common systems, it could be affected by uneven floors. We're not affected by that. Sectional egg mass control. So what we will have one temperature sensor in each section of the incubator. We can then have up to a maximum of 40,608 eggs per section, and 160,000 eggs total capacity for a 24 trolley machine. We use Omron for our control system. I've been using Omron for many years, goes right the way back to my Chickmaster and Buckeye days. Been very reliable. It's an industrial standard, and what you get is rugged. You do really get rugged, good systems that are reliable. So what about energy efficiency? Well, like I said, what we do within our systems to make sure that we can use the best possible advantage of that return, of that heat from the egg mass. 35 Celsius is the egg actually coming, 35 Celsius is the temperature of the actual water that's coming back from that return system, the chill water system. We can make use of that. We can use it either to warm the incoming air, or we can use it for the dehumidification process as well. I think we need a little bit of that in here today. So, anyway, so that was just a bit about NTEC in terms of what we do. So we do believe we're setting ourselves different from our competition. We're not here to copy what everybody else is doing. We want to set new standards in terms of the temperature control, energy efficiency. So we want to be basically a leader, not a follower, in terms of how we develop and grow our company. Just to show, we got basic installations now worldwide, and we've achieved this over the last 10 years since we started in 2014. So, let me finish up with a couple of videos so you can see a little bit more about how our equipment really does truly perform.
Hello guys, now it's Sunday. It is the 21st day of incubation and a few hours. We would like to check how the chicks looks now, and
Oh well, lost the sound, but never mind.
the baskets, and we check if we have any chicks, or the chicks are good, or or bad. Jackie is with me. Jackie, he hold the camera. Now I open the hatcher. Now we take off the basket, and we'll see how the chick looks like. Okay. Now Jackie, camera on the basket. Wow. Look, Jackie. Let's look. X. Good. Eyes open, bright, big, without any blood signs. Feathers, I think very good. And obviously, the more important thing is clean eggs and dry shell. I think everything is alright. Thank you. Here, that's me, Martin, and here is Jackie. Bye all. Bye. See you at the evening when we start takeoff.
So you would have seen just how clean that hatch debris was, and that really is typical of the actual condition of those the actual hatch debris that you would see coming from our incubators after the hatch. And like I said, that is indicative of how well the actual incubation process was, in the actual process of making sure that we got very good temperature spread and a very tight temperature bandwidth. So I'll just finish up this last one just to explain a little bit, round up, about what we call 0.6 35.6. And this explains about
the superior performance and efficiency of MTech incubators are represented by three specific numbers: 0.6, 35, and 6. So, what do these numbers mean and why are they important? First, let's begin by discussing 0.6. We understand temperature uniformity is critical for incubation excellence. That's why our approach to incubator design has enabled us to control the temperature variation across the entire egg mass to no greater than 0.6 degrees C. The closer the temperatures are, the greater the uniformity of embryonic development. This will also greatly reduce the hatch window and subsequently improve chick welfare. So how do we achieve this temperature stability? Well, it all starts with how the incubator cabinet is constructed. We avoid the use of a metal framework that creates a thermal bridge between adjacent machines. Instead, we use interlocking PIR panels that achieve up to 30% greater insulation. This unique construction not only saves energy and promotes temperature stability, but eliminates cold air pockets and condensation. We also tightly control the air flowing in and out of our machines using high-quality dampers to further minimize heat loss while providing ideal levels of moisture and CO2. Next, we have the internal layout of our incubators. The position and orientation of a setter trolley will greatly influence how the air is distributed because it acts like a barrier, creating turbulence. To negate this problem, we position only one trolley end-on each side of the fan. This provides the optimal airflow to every single egg, regardless of where it's positioned. Now let's talk about the fans as our next core focus area. MTech's paddle fan has been carefully engineered to produce a higher proportion of vertical airflow. This is not only considered more efficient for heat transfer, but allows the larger surface of eggs to be in contact with the air. And the ability to change the fan speed and direction will ensure the air reaches every corner of the egg mass. Our final pillar of focus that contributes to 0.6 is our eclipse control system. Not only will this adjust the fan speed and direction according to each stage of incubation, but the various stage programs will constantly analyze the environment to optimize temperature bandwidth. Now let's look at the number 35, the highest return water temperature in the business. During the initial stage of incubation, embryos generate significant heat that is extracted using MTech's advanced cooling system. And when combined with the highly insulated cabinet, the outgoing water will reach temperatures up to 35 degrees C. With rising energy costs, disregarding the energy in this water would be wasteful. We therefore recycle it to preheat air for the incubation rooms using our intelligent heat recovery system. The water is then sufficiently cooled to reintroduce back into the incubators, thus reducing the demand on the chillers and conserving more energy. So, 35 represents MTech's unmatched ability to facilitate effective thermal transfer from the egg mass to the cooling system. Finally, let's consider the number 6, the time in hours for our incubators to heat the egg mass to the required temperature. This rapid heating is attributed to the highly insulated cabinet design, airtight doors, and superior dampers, which not only reduces early mortalities, but avoids the need for expensive heating. To summarize, everything we do is about these core numbers. Our business is about temperature control, and we do that better than anyone.
So thank you very much. That concludes my little presentation. And he said, if you, we'd be pleased to talk to you. If in any way we can help you in terms of your hatcheries, do come along and see us. Many thanks. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Please, is there anybody that has any question for him before he takes his leave? All right, doctor.
Thank you very much for your nice presentation. If I am correct, well, I stand to be corrected. This is probably the first hatchery solution provider to come to our exhibition in Nigeria in quite a long time. So, thank you for being here. Yes. For the sake of, I'm sure you've done your market studies about the Nigerian poultry industry. And at this show, I know there are lots of farmers here. Some of them are breeder farmers, some of them run hatcheries. It's a very good thing that coming in as a competition. But you must already know that there are other players, global players that are already here in this country. And we know some of the problems in being able to access to quality solutions, you know. So my main question to you now is this. One, in your presentation, you didn't say much about the sizes of your incubators. Because if you profile the farms, the breeder farms in Nigeria, you know we have the big ones, we have the medium ones, we have the small ones. There are some producing just not more than 10,000 eggs per week. So please, I need you to kindly talk a little bit about that.
We have solutions from very small incubators from about 1,100 eggs, is what we call our microtech range, which is a fully built machine, fully built incubator. So that's sent out. I mean, literally, it's ready to use. So you just plug it into water and electricity and compressed air, and then you can use it. You can also hatch in that same machine as well. So we can then go from there. We got in that same microtech range, we have up to 2,130 eggs. And then, of course, then you start to get in our commercial, larger incubators, and then we go from anything from 9,000 eggs up to 160,000. So we have all different capacities that will fit a solution that we're looking for.
My last question is, in terms of technical support, what is your plan to support the products you are going to sell to this list?
Please, do we have any more questions?
Thank you very much for the good lecture. One of the major theme of this show is about cost optimization. Cost optimization. And in all your this thing, we did not hear anything about costs. And we are here for costs. So what is the average cost? We want to know so that people who want to plan can be able to plan. We have an idea of the cost. Then people can go back home to the drawing board to see, okay, is it possible? It's not possible. So everything is about.
And if you then look at the life of a hatchery, how long do you keep a hatchery for? How long do you actually keep that equipment? 20, 25 years? Just think of the actual, what that business is actually giving you over that 20 year period and what that return on investment could be. The difference might be if you chose a cheaper solution compared to what we're offering. So that's how I'd answer cost. And I'm not saying that, that the cost is important. Cost is important. But we also need to recognize it's just not cost for any business, just not about the cost. It's also about how that business is performing and return on investment that you've done from that initial stage.
Please, do we have any other question from this side? Okay, still from that side.
Well, it's another thing to have this equipment. And based on the peculiar problem we have in this country, what sorts of
producing electricity from the sun. So, with that's something that can be taken in consideration, of course, for any hatchery installation. But when it comes to actually the way that our incubators work, when you have to use fans, unfortunately, there's only really one source of power, and that is electricity. Now, how you get that electricity is also, an innovative enough ways that we can look at to actually generate electricity, yes. Nobody? Okay. Thank you.
All right, sir. So for feed, if you are clapping for him, we can do better. People at the right side of the hall are not clapping. Thank you. For Feed Avenue, can I invite Dr. Senen Ativ? Dr. Senen Ativ. Please, we can encourage him even as he steps forward. Thank you. 15 minutes. 15 minutes.
Good morning, farmers. Great farmers, no farmer. I'm happy to talk to us once again today about poultry nutrition. Our focus today would be on broiler. Can I have the presentation quickly, because I have only 15 minutes? You can't find the presentation?
While we wait for Feed Avenue, please, while we sort with the media, can we invite Kenim Industries for their presentation? Kenim Industry, 15 minutes.
It's 30 minutes here. The slide, please. Slide, please. IT. Great farmers, no farmer. Good afternoon to you, everybody. My name is Olajire Oladipo. I represent Kenim Industries. I'm here this afternoon to have a one-on-one discussion with you on a very serious matter, which is feed safety. We've been hearing a lot about food security, but not a lot of people are talking about food safety. For those of us who were at the opening ceremony yesterday, sorry, where's the remote? For those of us who were at the opening ceremony yesterday, you could see an advocate of the consumers, the king of Ibarra, He passed a message across to every one of us yesterday. Do you remember the message? He said something that you, the farmers, poultry producer, egg producer, chicken meat producer, that the lives of the consumers of your goods are in your hands. The safety of their lives is in your hand. They have put a whole lot of trust in you that their life is safe as a result of the products you are giving them. Sorry, this is not my slide. It's not moving. Why do we need safe feed? First and foremost, it has to do with production of our produce, be it egg, chicken meat, to come out hygienic and wholesome. Because of the fact that we have to throw out good products to consumers. Products that will not compromise their health. Another thing is because of the optimum performance of our animals. If you don't give them very safe feed, by the time they hit, they fall sick, and they won't be able to take care of us as investors. Because you invested in your farm, in your feed mill, because you expect that feed mill to also take care of you by giving you good return on your investment. So if your feed is not safe, if it is not good, the production will be poor, and the return on investment will be poor also. What exactly is feed safety? We all know when we are talking about contaminants. I want you to look at the structure underneath there. I call them bandits. For those of us who are Nigerians, we understand the word bandits, especially those of you who live in another part of the country. And I say bandits have just three missions. One is to steal. Second is to kill. While the third one is to do what? To destroy. Complete destruction. Exactly that is what bacteria, mold, yeast are doing to you as farmers, as feed millers. As we are all seated in our farm, we have stock of raw materials, be it maize, soya. These bandits are already there, doing what they know to do best, contaminating. So that's the source. Then we also have another source of contaminants, which is chemicals. We have mycotoxins. Mycotoxins are metabolites, byproducts of mold growth, metabolites of mold. And we have more than 350 mycotoxins identified in the world. And they contaminate both our raw materials and even the feed. Also, we have aldehydes, which are also byproducts of when fat or oil goes rancid. At the end of the day, they produce that chemical which will contaminate the feed and will not make the feed to be safe. Talking about raw materials, the source of contamination. It starts from the feed, from harvest. During harvest, there are lots of exchange to bagging, transportation, even up to storage. As the raw material is moving from this different segment to the other, it's being exposed to different contaminants. Bacteria, salmonella, molds. So you get your raw materials contaminated. Sorry. Now, what do we have here? This is a typical example of our feed mills. When you get to feed mill, during the processing, even before or after the processing, you look around your facility, you discover dust everywhere. What is the source of the dust? They are microparticles of our raw materials. Maize, soya, probably during processing, during grinding, you see them turn into particles and they hang there. Because they have nutrients in them, bacteria find those dusts as a very good host to feed on, and they continue to multiply. So whenever you see dust in your operation, you just take note of it that that is a lot of bacteria just waiting for continuous destruction. Another source is when we have our raw materials, soya, maize, when they are damaged as a result of pest infestation, contamination will happen, then including the dust around. At the end of the day, when you have contaminated raw material, in the presence of dust in your facility, the feed produced in that environment will not come out clean. It will surely be contaminated. Sorry. Your button is 6. Okay. Now, I want to speak briefly on mold. Mold is everywhere. They are in the air, in the raw material, and what they are waiting for is just a very good environment to thrive and to start growing. We have them in the raw material, we have them in the storage facilities, we also have them in our feed manufacturing facility, in our storage area, and even when this happens, it affects consumption of feed. And when you have your raw material, especially maize, you may look at the maize very clean, dry. If it is dry and the atmospheric moisture is not that high, mold will still be there, but they are just waiting for the time when the moisture will be high and mold will start growing to begin to cause damage. This thing is still. So, as a result of that, when mold grows, please, thank you. When mold grows, it causes problem because as a result of the growth, the feed that will be produced from that raw material will not come out clean. And when your animals, your birds, your livestock eat such feed, the consumption will not be that good. Why? Because when the mold was growing, it has consumed part of the nutrients of that raw material. And at the end of the day, what is left will be affected in terms of quality, which might also affect palatability of that animal. So the animal may eat less or may not even eat at all. And this will invariably affect the animal's growth. And at the end of the day, if that happens, it will automatically affect your income as the investor. I want to emphasize a few things on mycotoxin here. What we have is we have our raw materials on the field, fine, neat, but when there is a form of environmental stressor, in form of high moisture, or insect infestation, there will be some kind of damage caused by these stressors, and at the end of the day, mold begin to grow. The metabolites of the animal who consume the feed, and at the end of the day, if the animal consume unsafe feed, the product from such an animal will not be safe, be it egg, be it meat. And for us as human, that food will not also be safe for us, and our health might be compromised. Now, I mentioned those bandits and what they have there to do. The mold, the salmonella, and all those bandits that are causing such negative effects on our raw materials. Since we know what they are capable of doing, the other thing we need to do is to put a form of defense for ourselves as producers of farm produce, eggs, feed millers. What are the defense? In terms of salmonella prevention, we have a product in our company called Sarcop S Dry. It's a product that has formaldehyde and organic acid constituents. And what it does is totally kill off the bacteria. The inclusion rate is 1 to 2 kg for pelleted feed, but for mash feed is between 1 to 4 kg. And this inclusion increases whenever the infection increase. Next. For the mold growth, for you to prevent mold growth either in your raw materials or in your feed, we have products like Mold Corp S Dry or Microcorp Dry to protect your feed from mold. Propionic acid and acetic acid plus their salts are the constituents of these products, and they eliminate mold and spores. We have inclusion starting from 0.5 kg per ton of feed, depending on the situation. For the mycotoxin, our product called Toxfin Dry is there to protect your feed, your animals, your investments from mycotoxin. It's a combination of activated clays which bind mycotoxin in the feed and prevent absorption. Because the essence of a good quality mycotoxin binder is for it to bind the mycotoxin present in your feed and not to allow such mycotoxin to be absorbed in the GIT of the animal. It will just be excreted out. This toxin binder, Toxfin Dry, is very good and excellent in that category, and it's a broad spectrum toxin binder. Inclusion rate is 500 grams per ton, but when you have high risk of mycotoxin, you can go up to 3 kg per ton. Thank you for your attention. If there's any question, we'll answer it here. Then for more information, please visit us in our booth, D7 to 11. My contact is there and that of my colleague in case you want to get across to us. Thank you very much.
Please, do you have questions?
Good afternoon, sir.
Afternoon, sir.
For safety purposes, I will not identify myself, and some of the issues I raised, I will not mention names. We've come here to talk about the safety of our feeds. But what we've discovered recently, there are some of our feeds which we use that are substandard. As a result, it affects our businesses. Not every one of us is of taking our feeds to the laboratory to check the content of what we have. And our Nigerian standard organizations are not helping issues, whether they are existing or not. I'll give you an example, though I have met some of them right here. That's why I will not mention. You get a feed only to take it to your farm to discover that rats may have done wonders in those things. Or the packaging allowed air to have entered into those feeds, only to discover late by you yourself, not your attendants. and reporting the issues, they underplay the effect of that in your farms, and there's nowhere to run to. How do we solve such problems? Number two, the government also are not helpful, because some of the palliative we call that are given to us, we've come to discover that some of them are full of dust from each of the bags. And some of them are not even measuring to the capacity mentioned. 25 kg might likely not be 25 kg. We, the farmers, we are dilemma. Where do we go? How do we solve this? These are my questions. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, sir. Well, what you mentioned about the standard of the feed available in the country, I guess somebody from the north said something similar during the opening ceremony yesterday, that some feed sample were taken and they didn't get the right standard. I think the Nigerian Poultry Association has a lot to do concerning that. So when farmers come together and you discover that you are not getting the right quality promised to you in any of those feeds, I think it's something that the association should take care of. Then for the palliative you mentioned, I want to believe it has to do with maize that the federal government was giving to some farmers, a form of palliative. The question is, I think SON should also come on board there to do their work. It has to do with what is the technology put in place while those maize were being stored. If they are taking into consideration all what we mentioned here, and they put some of these ingredients there, we won't have such an occurrence. And for us as feed millers and farmers, not to fall into that kind of situation, that is why we've come around. So if you are a farmer, you buy materials, you keep to store, please come to us. We'll work with you, we'll collaborate with you on how you are going to have your raw materials, be it maize, be it soya, stored. If you have silo, if you don't have silo, whatever form of storage we have, we advise on what to do. Then when it comes to you producing feed from such materials, depending on the level of contamination of the materials, we could also advise you on the level and any of these products that will be of advantage to you. So, sir, if you need more information or assistance in that, you could please see us in our booth. Thank you, sir.
Do we have any other question? Okay, in the absence of question, apologies to Dr. Senen Antiv for the media mix-up. Please, can we have you now? Feed Avenue.
Sorry. I just wanted to introduce actually Dr. Sinan. Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody, for receiving us today. We are going to talk about broiler, correct? So how to fast track and improve your broiler. It has never been so much important currently since but even more this year, how to beat your costs of production, especially on the nutrition. So you can always look at decreasing your cost, but there is another way as well. It's also to improve your performance. We are performance oriented. For us, it's all about money in our pocket, how much money we're gonna make, and how much is the lowest FCR we can reach. So thank you to welcome Mr. Dr. Sinan, our coordinator, technical coordinator, has been trained by MG2 Mix France, our mother company, and for so many years now, traveling quite often over there. So thank you so much as well for give us a good insight on production.
Thank you, Xavier. Xavier is the managing director of Feed Avenue. Please sit. I will go straight because we don't have much time. It's working. Please, can the cameras step a little back because While I was sitting there, the cameras were blocking everybody on that side. So if you can just move back so that people can have access to the presentation. So today's presentation, first is on broiler nutrition, and we are going to try to be as brief as possible because of the time constraint. So we're talking about the most important points in broiler nutrition. We'll talk about cases of imbalanced poultry feed, importance of vitamins and minerals, and why it is essential to give good supplementation and good quality feed additives, and how to improve feed quality. These are just some of the breeds that we have. This slide is going just to tell us that a broiler is a broiler, whether it's an aboacre, whether it's a cob, whether it's whichever, they all require certain nutrients, and you must provide those nutrients. The evolution of modern day broiler, this slide is to show us that over the years, broiler have improved. What is expected has also changed this period of time. So you can see in 1957, before most of us were born, this is a 42-day-old broiler. It was just 900 grams. But today, same time, you have over 4 kg of chicken, meaning that what is required for broiler has also changed. So what you have been doing in the past may not apply today. So the theme of this year's MPS, we are looking at innovative way to stay in business despite the harsh economic conditions. Thanks to advancement in genetics and nutritional knowledge, we have been able to achieve reduced FCR in broilers, increase growth rate, meaning your chickens cannot grow much faster, and shorten time of production so that you can have more cycles in 1 year. At the end of the day, what farmers are looking for is how to produce a kg body weight of broiler at the lowest cost possible. How broilers grow, this slide is trying to show you how fast broilers can change. And because of this fast growth, mistakes you make in a very short time can cost you so much. So you need to take care to make sure you provide the right nutrients at the right time so that you catch up with this fast growth. On a farm, you get a chick, you want that chick to perform as much as the breeder or the genetic company expected that chick to produce. So to achieve the genetic potential of a chicken, there are several factors: health, the management, environment, and nutrition. All these factors work together to help you to achieve the genetic potential of your broiler. We are focusing on nutrition because that's our area of expertise. And for us, nutrition covers 80% of everything you do on your farm. And so that's why we think it's very important to talk about nutrition at a time like this. Nutrient requirement for broilers, for pullet, for layer, for any animals is more or less the same. There is maintenance requirement, and for this maintenance, the animal must take what it needs to stay alive. And then there's production requirements, which most times I like to say is like luxury to the animal. If the animal does not get enough nutrients to stay alive, it will not grow. So it's the excess of what you give them that they use to maintain to be alive. The excess of it is what they use to grow, to produce eggs, to produce milk, or whatever in the body of the animals. Protein is important because the muscle is protein. So you need to supply protein so that the bird can grow. And energy is what helps in synthesizing the protein and other nutrients. Fiber for digestive health transit, minerals for locomotion, for skeletal system structure, and trace elements are important for metabolism. Some of the trace elements are actually cofactors of enzymes. So when you don't provide some of those key trace elements and vitamins, your birds may not do well because the enzymes will not be functioning well. Different sources of the raw materials. Raw materials can be protein. You may need soya, groundnut cake, fish meal. Energy sources, you need things like maize, sorghum, oil, and minerals and vitamins, which must be provided through a premix or a concentrate, which is our core area of business. Feed Avenue, we specialize in premix and concentrate manufacturing and distribution. So to formulate feed, you need to bring all these classes of feed together at the right proportion to get the best performance at the best cost. So this shows that protein must come, energy must come, fiber, minerals, vitamins, and everything. And you must also protect your feed. The last speaker talked about feed protection by adding of good toxin binders. And all these things must come together to ensure that your feed quality is good and your animals get what they need from the feed. Because if your feed is not giving the animals what they need, then the point of feeding has been defeated. Strategies in nutrition. This graph shows you that for broilers, different tissues are developed at different times. And this is very important. We might just see it like this vaguely, but this is very important because this underscores the importance of specific nutrition in birds. Sometimes as a nutrition company, we give formulas to our customers or to our clients or people we work with, our partners, and they complain. Some of them will ask questions, and I'm sure many farmers are familiar with this question, that can't I give my broiler starter from day one to the end? You can't, because here you see there are different structures or tissues being developed at different times. So when you start giving starter, which is high in protein and meant for organ development and brain development and other organs, you give it to the end, it means at the time the animal needs energy, fat deposition, you are still giving a low energy diet because starter is a low energy feed. So you need to really change the feed as the animal grows. So this slide, we just wanted to show the importance of giving specific nutrients at specific times. So farmers must always try to stick to the formula that are given by nutritionists as much as possible. It's the same thing, showing that as the animal grows older, the nutrients requirement change. The protein requirement decreases while the energy increases. The same as the mineral requirements. So it's important to always give the specific nutrients at specific time. This is also showing the same thing. For starter, from 0 to 10 days, the starter period of birds, the objective is to provide good warmth and to give them feed as early as possible. Your goal is to make sure that you give enough protein because organs are developing, intestinal development, brain development, muscle development. So you need to give enough protein and make sure they get access to feed as early as possible and they are comfortable. Sometimes farmers forget and provide heat without oxygen. And most of the farmers around here, our source of heat is charcoal or gas. And you know that these two sources consume oxygen in the room. So when you provide a closed house for your chicks, your day-old chicks, you don't provide any ventilation and you put this source of heat, it even consumes up all the oxygen in the room, which makes your broiler start panting, looking for oxygen. So it is not good. It's always good to balance it. Give them good temperature, required temperature. There is actually a temperature chart. Follow the chart, but also provide minimal ventilation for them because as much as they need heat, they also need oxygen. For the growing period, you are trying to promote bone development, skeletal structure. So the feed changes. Their energy requirement also increases because at that time, their daily gain is higher. They are gaining far more per day than they were gaining when they were chicks. And so they need more energy, a little bit less protein because, of course, they are also eating more. So you need to increase the energy content of the feed. So there is that intermediary period between starter and finisher that you need to provide the right nutrients. It's not to give them starter from 0 to end. This is just a study. You can't see this slide, but just to show that there is a standard for apple acre and we must meet these standards. Most times it's good to follow the chart to see how well you are doing. And if something goes wrong, you can know if you have a chart like this. Different breeds have their own charts, which we can always follow. Challenges in broiler farming. I talk about the factors of production, all that is needed to achieve the genetic potential of the bird. You can have all these other factors covered, but the most important, which is nutrition, because invariably what we are doing in farming is just to take raw materials and give the animals to convert it into produce for us. So if we take care of the health, the management, the housing, the chick quality, but we miss feeding, we cannot achieve the genetic potential of the bird. So it's important that we actually focus very well on our nutrition. And it is shown that in this room today, most of the presentations have been on nutrition. That's to tell you how important nutrition is in farming as a whole. So it's very good for us to pay attention to our feed, the quality of our feed, and our animal nutrition generally, just so we can achieve the potential of our birds. Challenges that we may face during the broiler period. From the day old chick to the end of production, you see birds can face different challenges along the line. From chicks, most important challenge is the quality of the feed, because farmers find it difficult to get the right quality of feed for chicks. And that's why recently you see there are a lot of specific feed made for day-old chicks for the first 5 or 7 days. That is just to help farmers to be able to achieve what they find it difficult to get, because that stage is very critical. If you miss that stage, you're going to miss so much. Your time of production is going to increase. They are going to have poor performance and all that. So chick quality of feed is very important at the day-old chick. As they grow, you start noticing wet litter, enteritis when they have different problems. Start having poor intestinal quality, wet litter, and as they grow older, they add more weight. If the skeleton was not formed properly at the beginning, you will have leg disorders. We are going to try to see how we can solve some of these problems. For the chick quality, for the feed quality, we need to provide high level. First of all, let's understand that in Nigeria, everybody has spoken about that. There is serious raw material contamination. We all know this because our environment is humid and tropical in nature. So it encourages growth of microbes and fungi on our raw material. So raw materials in Nigeria are naturally contaminated. So we must have good selection process for raw materials, and also sometimes even go as much as cleaning our raw materials to achieve better performance. We can also use toxin binders, potent toxin binders. Defitox is one of the best toxin binders you can find on the market. I will show you further on the next slide how good Defitox is and what makes it different from the other toxin binders you can find in the market. Broilers, Defitox that I just talked about is one toxin binder you find in the market with 4 actions, because there are several toxins that can affect the same raw material. You cannot fight them with just one approach. And so, in the wisdom of MG2 Mix, we have designed a toxin binder with 4 synergistic actions: bentonite, or an activated clay, activated charcoal, which is specially made in MG2 Mix lab called MG Carb, yeast cell wall, and plant extract. All these components are important in a toxin binder, because if you use only a clay-based toxin binder, it's going to capture very well aflatoxins, but other toxins may not be neutralized or captured. That is why we have provided this toxin binder with 4 actions. So if it misses one, if the clay cannot capture it, the charcoal have ability to capture even bigger molecules, so it can bigger and smaller molecule, so it can trap the other ones that were not captured by the clay. And then we also have yeast cell wall, which acts as a neutralizer. It kind of digests the toxins even when the toxin have been ingested by the animal. So why the bentonite and the MG Carb is working on the raw material or feed outside the animals, the yeast cell wall and the plant extracts are working inside the animals to digest the toxins, and the plant extract to decontaminate the liver and the kidney to make your birds healthier and to grow well. So Defitox is our global solution for toxins, all sorts of toxins, not just aflatoxins like the other ones you find on the market. Gut health management, which is the second problem you find, major problem you find in broilers as they grow. you start having enteritis, coccidiosis, and all sorts of things that affect the gut. And as we know, the intestine, the gut, is the only way that birds can get nutrients, because they eat through their mouth and it passes through their intestine. We don't give them injectable nutrients. So all the nutrients have to come through the mouth and pass through the intestine. So we must take care of the intestine, of the gastrointestinal tract, to make sure it's well secure and it's not inflamed. Because if it's inflamed by either bacteria, by coccidiosis, by fungi, they are not going to be able to absorb nutrients. That's when you start having wet litter, because the animal is not absorbing the nutrients properly. So it's passing the nutrients out. So you must secure the intestine as much as possible. And to do that, we have a potent solution called Galimix. Galimix is a mixture of organic acids and essential oils. While the organic acids are taking care of the bacteria and the offensive agents, the essential oils are coating the intestine and repairing the damage that is caused by those bacteria or those coccidiosis or those agents. So Galimix is also available with Feed Avenue here in Nigeria, and it's a global solution. There is a short video on Galimix that we will see if we have time. Leg problems. The only way to solve this problem, every farmer has seen this on their farm. The reason is just because of mineral and trace element deficiency. Sometimes farmers say my birds are too heavy, that's why they can't stand. But no, if the skeletal structure is good enough, they will not have this problem. So the only way to solve it is to provide all these nutrients, and you cannot get these nutrients you can only get them when you use a very good premix or concentrate, because these are things that are not available in maize, in soya, in the raw materials. They must be provided through a concentrate or a premix. Here we have a premix, comes in a bag like this, and it's made of protected vitamins. It is important because vitamins are sensitive to factors of nature. If vitamins are not protected, they are going to, by the time they get to your feet, grinding, heat, storage, and all that, you find out there's nothing left in the bag. So you need to, in that wisdom, we have made use of protected vitamins, so that by the time this feed goes all the processes and storage, the nutrients are still intact. Thank you so much for listening to us. Can I just have that video for, it's 1 minute video just to tell you about Galimix. Volume, please.
Prevent.
Thank you. If there are questions, why the video is presented.
Yeah, thank you, Dr.
Maintaining a healthy gut in your birds is crucial for optimal digestion, immune function, and overall performance. But pathogenic bacteria can quickly disrupt this balance. Galimix prevents the development of pathogenic bacteria and promotes beneficial flora in the guts of poultry. Galimix utilizes a unique protection technology to target harmful bacteria, promoting a healthy balance of bacteria. Galimix inhibits pathogenic bacteria on the farm, enhances protein digestion, and is a viable alternative to antibiotics growth promoters. Studies continue to show significant improvements in poultry health and performance using Galimix. Upgrade your poultry nutrition with Galimix and discover a mire-efficient and sustainable way to raise your poultry.
Thank you. So can we have the questions now?
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Ahmed of the State. I have two questions, although one question has been answered. The explanation you gave. In day one of the broiler, when you took them to the farm, you see some people do spray down the sawdust on the floor, and we're putting up the newspaper on top, while some people put only newspaper. Is it encouraging using of sawdust, or is there any side effect on the using of sawdust in day one for the broilers? Thank you.
Yeah, how duly protocol duly observe. I remain Ibrahim Adesanya. I have two questions. The first one,
you render a statement that, let me say, you are not mentioning super starter. Although personally, I keep on telling people, say, use of super starter is just a scam. Because from experience, I do use starter and the finisher, and my pets will do very well. The question now is, you said between the use of starter and the finisher, there is a period they require special G or bone, something like that. But some feed producers, I don't want to mention them now, they always recommend grower. What can you say about that one?
The first question was about
The
spreading.
first question is
no.
feed between starter and the finisher.
First person that asked the question about power on the ground. It's why you are putting a litter material or a bedding material is so that the moisture from the feces of the birds will be absorbed properly. So if you put only paper here and you drop water on it, it's going to be wet and the paper will tear off. But if you put a good level of whatever litter material, be it sawdust, wood shavings, or whatever litter material you're putting on the ground, and you put paper on top, it will help to absorb the moisture from the manure faster, so the pen will remain dry. So I recommend using a good bedding material under. Could be sawdust, could be wood shaving, and then a paper on top. And the use of the paper is to guide the young chicks to feed. Is to guide the young chicks. So when you put the paper, you sprinkle some feed on it, so as they move and try to pick it, they get to know the feed and they can easily move to the feed. So that's
the question. I'm Odechola of Emaflow Farms. You see, I don't know why you people limited yourself to broilers alone. Because from inception, in a user of your product, I use your product, your concentrate on pullet and for layers. Are you no longer interested in doing those things?
We are still interested, and we still have our layer and pullet concentrate. It's still available, sir. We choose to talk about broiler now because of the season we are getting in. At different times we organize training for layer farmers and all that, and our products are all available. We have not withdrawn any product from the market. Concentrate for layers and pullets is there. To answer your questions, starter or super starter, it's similar. A super pre-starter is a broiler feed that has very high nutrient, because those young chicks, they are not eating so much. So the little they eat, you want them to get as much as possible from it. So it's good to give that super pre-starter for the first 5 to 7 days. I mentioned it. Then you can switch to a regular starter. But if you cannot get that, because sometimes farmers complain about cost also, because a good super starter now is getting towards 50,000 for a 25 kg bag. But it has value. So if you can invest in it, if you have a big farm, you know the value of 1 or 2 days savings in your feed, then it's good to invest in that super starter at the beginning, because you will have so much savings at the end. So that super starter is very key. If you can afford it, I think it's very good, and it will give you great savings at the end of your cycle. And then the difference between is the energy for a grower and finisher, right? Yes, there is, they are gaining weight at different rates from grower stage to finisher stage. So the more their body weight, the more energy they need to support that fast growth. So the energy in a grower feed is good for the grower stage. But as they advance towards 23, 24 days, their daily gain becomes very fast. And so you need to step up the energy, and that's why the finisher is usually higher in energy than the other feed. Thank you. Just comment from my MD and then we close.
Well, just to close down, sorry. Thank you so much for listening to us this morning. So just like in a summary, always remember, at the end of the day, it's about performance. So if we don't monitor what we're doing, we can't improve it. So to improve our production, to improve our profitability, at the end that's what it is about, we have to, and that's what I've been also saying to my team a lot, we need to measure. make measurement of our production, make measurement of our lots of different KPIs that you have to do on your production. That would help you to improve it. And Feed Avenue is very much here to help you on that. All those aspects of nutrition. The team is always available. I'd just like to thank Nigeria Poultry Show for allowing us as well to gather all together and get this industry to fly up. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Feed Avenue. Can you please give them a big round of applause again, please? Now, the next is not a presentation, it's a lecture. That's why I'm actually been here since morning. But before I introduce the person, I first want to appreciate him for his time, because we contacted him in a very short time. And for the love of the industry, he had to reschedule all what he has today to be here today. And we scheduled him for 11 o'clock, and we are just calling him now to come on stage. He has been patient. Dr. Rotimi Akiolu, thank you very much. So please, guys, join me in welcoming Dr. Rotimi Akiolu for the syndicate section. A big round of applause for him as he comes out, please. Thank you, Doctor. Doctor will be talking production optimization strategies in broiler farming, critical focus point. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Great farmers. Great farmers. Okay. Ojimi, we have been very, very tired, Abi. It's been a long morning. Please, I'm seeking your indulgence, my elders. Please let us stand for 10 seconds. 10 seconds. Everybody, please. Just follow my movement, oh. Follow my movement. Eh? See. Thank you very, very much. If you have water with you, drink water. You will feel better. Great farmers. Very good. It is a very big pleasure to be here this afternoon, and I'm quite honored to be invited by the Nigerian Poultry Association to come and speak on this topic, optimizing strategies in broiler farming, critical focus points. Okay, now I am not going to try and reinvent the wheel, because I know standing in this room or sitting down in this room are many farmers that were born before I was born. I know many of us, we've been practicing broiler production for many, many years, and we are seasoned farmers. But the essence of my being here today is about optimization. Optimization. You know, look at that word. What are we doing as broiler farmers that we can do better in this economy? You know, we know the way things are right now. The business is not so friendly. The business environment is not so friendly. Farmers are crying. But we still have to feed this nation as farmers. We have this business. We have to seek better ways to create efficiency in our broiler business so that we can still get profit in this business. So we need to look at some little things that will help us to do this business better. That is the essence of this meeting today. Okay, now I am not going to be teaching everything about broilers. It will take me 1 year to finish if I want to speak about broilers in this room. But we are going to focus on 3 major things. And that has to do, we looked at the area of our broiler rearing and see what we can improve in those processes. We'll look at nutrition and we'll also look at health. Those are the key areas we are going to look at this afternoon. We know our business environment is so difficult as it is now. And the business is capital intensive. At the same time, the payback period is getting long. Am I right? The margins are lower. The money we are making in this business is getting narrower. Return on investment is smaller. And unfortunately too, because of the harsh economic environment, the business is even more unforgiving. You make small mistake, you are out. You invest garbage, you reap garbage. That's the way it is. So one of the essence of this meeting is also to look at, okay, even in this harsh environment, business environment, what are the little things I can change in my business, in my broiler operations, to make me a smarter farmer, be more efficient, and make money in this business? So those are the few things we are going to look at. Okay? So like I said, we'll be looking at the area of production. What are the things we can do in rearing, to optimize our rearing performance, nutrition, and health. Those are the three focal points, especially. Okay, so let us look at our rearing process. To start with, if you look at this chart, there are many factors that will influence the hen performance of our broiler production. When I say hen performance, I'm talking of when you crop your product after rearing them for a long time. You want to crop. There are many things in the processes, there are many processes that will affect that performance. On the left side, you see ventilation, water supply, feed supply, lighting, temperature. I will group them as part of the things I'm going to discuss about under brooding management. I will just review brooding management briefly and the impact on the performance of our broilers. On the other side, you see health and nutrition, which is also the focus of this discussion. And of course, vaccinal status, stocking density, and DOC quality. If we are starting the process of placing our beds, there are some basic elements that are very, very important for us to understand. One, starting well. When we are placing beds, starting well, you need to have good quality DO chickens. The good quality DO chickens are coming from a nursery which you don't own, right? The chickens the eggs that are hatching, that are being hatched into those chickens are coming from a breeder farm. You don't know what is happening there, right? Which means as a farmer, you don't have absolute control over the quality of your DO chicks. Also as a farmer, you did not hatch the chick. The hatching environment, you are not there. What you buy is what you get. If the quality of hatch is good, you are happy. If it is not good, you need a lot of work to do. You don't have control over that as well. Transporting the chicks to your farm, maybe you have some control if you are a small farmer. But the big farmers, of course, they will deliver to you. Whatever happens on the road, you don't know. Those are the things that will influence your starting performance and eventually your end results. Also, the cleaning and the sanitation of your broiler environment is also a very critical element that most of us will ignore. I can already tell you, as a consultant to many farms, I can tell you that there are so many farmers that I know, many CEOs and farm owners in this room, who has never witnessed how their broiler shed is being washed and disinfected. Because we assume it's a dirty job. It's not my job. My attendants will do it. But let me tell you, what most important operations you do, when you are preparing to stock your beds, apart from those factors you don't have control over, those three up, you don't have control over them. But the other two down, as the owner of the business, as the chief stakeholder, as the person spending the money, as the farm manager, they are your critical areas for you to look into. So by implication, I'm going to quickly look at, in terms of the optimizing the rearing environment, I would like to start not from the brooding process itself, but from the cleaning and disinfection process itself. Because a dirty environment has more infection pressure. Where you have infection pressure, it means your birds will be challenged early in rearing. No matter how quality the feed you get and the quality of your DO chicks, if you are rearing birds in an infected, dirty environment, you are already up to a start. So I will just focus for like 5 minutes on that before we continue. Why is it important for us to have a clean hygienic environment for our birds. This objective is simply because of the fact that for optimum performance, you must make sure that the house where you are going to place your broilers has been cleaned, disinfected, and is secured, biosecured, fully hygienic, no germ presence or reduced germ presence before you place them, because you cannot have optimum performance when the environment is dirty. That's number one. And for us to be able to do this, there are procedures. Best global practice or global best practice, whichever way you want me to say it, indicates that there are very key procedures to cleaning your broiler shed before you place your birds. So I will just run quickly through them. The first and most important thing, I will just itemize for the sake of our time. The first and most important thing when we are planning to stock our next batch is this. We must first put up a plan. You cannot stock birds without a plan. And when I say a plan does not involve you as the owner of the money that is going to be invested alone. The plan means the business manager, the farm manager, the farm attendants, all the stakeholders on the farm must understand what the program is. When are we stocking the next batch of birds? And you need to make sure you have all the tools, the equipment, the disinfectants, the clean you are going to use to do your cleaning must be in place. Don't say it is somebody else's job, because it's one of the critical aspects that is going to affect the performance of your birds in the future. Okay? So, first, you must make a plan. And when you make a plan, ensure that you start the cleaning of your house after evacuation of the birds in that house. By doing what? By putting up what I'll call pest management procedures. That is the first thing you do. Please, if you know you are a process manager on the farm, it's better you write this process down. You can itemize it and write it down. It's very, very important. Because procedurally, if you don't do it right, you'll find out that there is no way you can have a clean environment, an ultimately clean environment. So when you make a plan and everybody in the plan is carried along and you have all the tools you need for your operations, first, make sure 24 hours later than 24 hours after removing the whole birds in the house, do what is called pest control. And what are the pests you are trying to control? Rats or rodents and insects. Those are the two most important pests because they are vectors of diseases. When you have them around, you are likely to have a problem in your next batch because they were friends with the batch that was there before. You need to make sure you do pest control. Then after pest control, you can now start or dry cleaning. What do I mean by dry? Get your boys, broom, blowers, whatever you have. Dust from the ceiling to the walls to the floor. Pack the old litter. Scrape the old litter. Pack out the removable equipment. Before you start thinking about using detergent or water at all, you must make sure you scrape out every visible dirt inside the pen house. That is when your cleaning can be more thorough. Now, when we now use detergent and water to power wash the house in preparation for disinfection, also note that disinfection will not kill all the germs in your house 100%. If you are lucky, maybe you get 95%, 97% of the germs out of the house. You still have to disinfect. And then the next process after washing with detergent is to wash with clean fresh water to remove the detergent. You have to remove the detergent first, because if you don't remove the detergent thoroughly, you will end up not being able to remove all the germs effectively. So you rinse with water and then you allow the house to dry for about 8 minutes before you spray your disinfectant. And then you can start your proper house preparation for the chicks, as the case may be. But that is after you have rested your poultry shed for at least 2 to 3 weeks. As I'm saying this, I know there are some farmers in the room. You think we can get away with it if you don't do all these things. You will get away with it for a short period. But after some time, your performances will drop because of the infection pressure in the sheds. So let us take note of that. Okay? So this is just a chart to show you the processes or the steps involved in house preparation for broilers. You start after the population, you do pest control, you remove the equipment, do dry cleaning, you do washing or wet cleaning, and then you clean your water systems, do all the maintenance work, disinfect, you rest the house for about 2 to 3 weeks, you fumigate before you place the next batch of eggs after putting fresh litter in the house, and then you evaluate by doing an hygiene audit if you have the facility to do that. So that takes care of that. And when you are done, the next thing is to set up your house properly. Now you'll be wondering, why am I going back on all these basics? Sometimes the big problems are not the reason why you are not performing well. It's the small problems. When it comes to setting up, I will just pick up also some key important points that will guide your preparation. We know the basics. The first and most important thing is this: your stocking density. Most of us, we don't even consider. We just assume this house should be able to contain 5,000 broilers. But let me tell you, if you are overstocking your house, it's going to have a very negative effect on growth rate, because there is going to be competition. It's going to have a very effect on feed conversion, and at the end of the day, it's going to have a very bad effect on the terminal weight of your broilers, simply because of the fact that you are overstocking. And overstocking also causes some other problems: infection pressure, coccidiosis, respiratory diseases. They easily spread because your house is choked. So all these things may be basic, but they are some of the things that actually affect our performances long term. So we should take good note of that. Okay? So when we set up, we have calculated the number of feeders, number of drinkers, and everything is put in place. The next thing is for us to make sure that we brood our birds. And what do we do? Creating an optimal environmental condition for the growth and development of the broilers in the houses. So what are these critical optimal conditions, and how can we make the best use of what happens in the house? First, I need to give kudos to some of the presentations I've listened to this morning. If we have been following many of the product presentations, they've been talking about things that are very, very relevant to performance in our broiler projects. Maybe we think they are just trying to sell their products, but they have been telling us a lot of truths. It's good for you to note that the first 7 days in the life of your broiler will determine what happens for the next 5 or 6 weeks. If you are cropping at 5 weeks or 6 weeks, what happens in the first 7 days is very, very critical to that performance. Now, why? Why is that? First, note one thing. If you look at our broilers, the last presenter talked about the evolution of the modern day broiler from 1957 but critically, the first 7 days of life present certain pictures that are very important if you are going to get a very good result in your performance. What is happening to our birds? When birds are newly hatched, the first 7 days, or let me just raise it to the first 10 days, what is happening in their system? Your birds need to develop their organs, especially the digestive system is critical to growth in all animals, especially our broilers. Broilers are birds that are specially bred and reared for their meat because of their fast growth. You cannot have fast growth if you don't have good development at the beginning stage. I used to blame my mom, God bless her soul, she's late now. But sometimes when we talk, like, why are my brothers taller than me? And I say, maybe you didn't give me enough food as a younger person, as a baby. And why do we always talk about that? The critical time when we need to have the best nutrition is the start. If you want to achieve your full genetic potential, in terms of growth and development. The start is the foundation. Don't be like that foolish farmer that will say, I will give them rubbish feed. I will treat them anyhow. When it is now 1 week to market, 1 week to Christmas, I will give them the best feed so that they will grow fat. You are wasting your time. Broiler business is not like that. From the scratch, you must understand. Critically look at this picture. This. The first 3 days. Sorry, okay, this is not. The first 3 days is very, very important. Why? Our birds at that age, when they are coming in, they can hardly understand what is feed. If you look at that critical stage, our birds in the early stages, when we introduce them to the house, what is happening? They are like blind babies. For those of us who are mothers, the way we take care of our babies is clear. What do? When we have newborn babies, we wrap them up, we keep them. No, we provide good nutrition by breastfeeding them. We make sure that we don't keep them in another room too far away from us. They cry a little, you run to them, you give them what they need. In fact, you need to teach some babies how to suck yourself. Do you understand what I mean? But that is a nursing care. That tender, loving care that we give to our babies is the same thing that our broilers require the first few days. Because broilers don't know what feed is. They were not born to understand what feed is. You have to train them. And somebody was asking about paper. Let me just educate you a little bit about why people use newspaper. Somebody was asking that question. You know, the standard procedure nowadays is always make sure that you have papers in at least 70 to 80% of your floor. If you cannot do 100%, at least do 70 to 80% of your floor. If you are raising broilers for the first 3 days, what you are doing is you are going to spread some of your feed on the paper. You are also going to put in the plate feeders. But the idea behind this is this: you are training your broilers to understand. So this is feed, because broilers have a trait. Newborn baby chicks have a trait. You put them on the floor. After a couple of hours, they spread out. They start exploring their environment. They scratch the floor. They touch everything. If you put feed only in plate feeders, it's not going to cover more than maybe 40 or 50% of the space. But when you use paper to cover 70%, it means their feet will touch 70%. Their beak will also touch 70% of the floor. And anywhere they touch and they smell, they with that feed. And that is how they pick it very, very fast. That is how to train our birds to learn to pick feed. This practice is very, very important, especially the first 3 days of life. Now, let me just move forward a little bit. I will come back to this slide later. When you place your chicks, once the chicks arrive, there is also one thing that I also notice in some farmers. They always say, mo ti gba adìyẹ, but mi ò gbọdọ̀ dá sílẹ̀ nsìn, mo fẹ́ kó dijọ́ kejì kí n tó dá sílẹ̀. It's bad practice. They will say, I want the yolk to be absorbed before I place it so that they will not die or they will grow well. It's bad practice. Your broilers, if you hatch broiler now in the hatchery and put it and let it eat, nothing is going to happen to your broiler. It's even going to be better than the broiler that has to travel 3 kilometers or 3 hours drive and then wait till following it before feed. The earlier your broiler have access to feed, the better the growth performance. So it is very, very critical that once the birds arrive, you have pre-warmed your house by heating the house for at least 24 hours to get the temperature of the house, of the floor especially, to room temperature. So that when the birds come and you are placing them, they will not be, the cold from the floor will not be transmitted into their body from their feet. That is the idea behind pre-warming the house. So the environment will be warm enough. And there are critical temperatures that we have to use during brood. I will come to that shortly. At the same time, when you put feed and you are pouring your chicks, always place the chicks as close as possible to where you have your feeders. Don't just say, the house is big, put them there. You pour them as close as possible to wherever you have feed, so that they can instantly start to explore their environment and touch the feed. You will be shocked that little points like this is actually going to help your broilers to achieve their 7-day body weight, which is very, very critical. At day old, Your broiler weight is probably around 40 grams if you are lucky. That is about the standard, but that is if you are lucky anyway in Nigeria. But that body weight will become 5 times the size in just 7 days of age if you feed it well. By the time your birds are 10 days of age, they are already 8 times the body weight of day old, under good feed condition, under nice environment. And I'm telling you one thing, if your broiler fail to achieve the standard weight at 7 days of age, please, there is no magic you will do that will make them achieve the standard weight at 5 or 6 weeks. There is no magic. It means ìbẹ̀rẹ̀ lóníṣẹ́ o. Ẹ má bínú ẹ̀yin àgbààgbà, mo yóò wé padà ni. Ìbẹ̀rẹ̀ lè òun lóníṣẹ́, ìbẹ̀rẹ̀ ló ti máa bẹ̀rẹ̀ iṣẹ́. Bí Saturday ṣe máa rí, Friday ló ti máa mọ̀. Not eating optimally in the first 7 days of life, and they are not achieving their target body weight at 7 days. You cannot achieve. Somebody was telling me pé standard is sọ pé 2.2 kilo at 5 weeks. Pé kò possible. Money is a lie o. It means you then resize mo nfẹ́ o. Do you know why farmers don't achieve that? If your first 7 days you don't achieve the body weight by 7 days, there is no. Most of us, we don't even start checking it until like 3 weeks. Like weight you should weigh your broilers at day old to know what the weights are, and then check at 7 days to see if I am achieving close to the target of 5 at 7 days, and then you know where your race will continue to start. Let me quickly speak about lighting, because it's another area where you can optimize your operation. Lighting in broiler production is a very critical element. Most of us, we don't consider it because we run our operations in open site housing, and we run with natural light day and night. There is nothing wrong with that, but we must understand one fact. When we place baby chickens, the first 3 days to this first 7 days, 3 to 7 days, it is best to have a minimum of 23 hours of light. 23 hours of lighting must be available, not 24. 24 hours is detrimental to their growth. I will explain. But at least a minimum of 23 hours. You must put off the light at least for 1 hour so that they can sleep. They are creatures of God too. They need to rest. When you perpetually, because I've seen farmers do this, when you perpetually turn on the light in a broiler house, 24 hours for 5 weeks or 6 weeks, there is no way you will attain your target. And the reason why is very simple. You know, if you take advantage of lighting in broiler management, the critical thing is that your birds need the light, especially the first 3 to 7 days. They need lighted environment for at least 23 hours a day, so that they can see where the water is, where the feed is, and they can drink and go. But that so that they can rest, because rest is part of their physiological need to also grow. After 7 days, it's important that you need to step down the light by at least a minimum of 4 to 6 hours. Meaning your birds must sleep 4 to 6 hours. No, after 7 days, if you want them to also grow very well. Now, if you are a farmer and you don't have electricity in your operations, and you are thinking, what is I can already tell you the disadvantage. Why your birds are going to get adequate rest, which is good for their growth, but they are not going to get enough light hours to finish or consume their feeds. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So, as much as possible, we must understand that principle if you want the best performance, if you want to optimize our performance in that area. Okay, so one last thing so that I can move. Time is not our friend. One last thing that I need to say about this topic before I move to the next topic is this. When you place your birds, broilers especially, oúnjẹ ni broiler o. Gbogbo nǹkan àwọn tó ń wá this nutrition company tó ti ń wá látàrọ̀ tó ń sọ̀rọ̀. A lè máa wò pọ́jà àwọn náà wá tà, but wọ́n sọ àwọn òótọ́ ọ̀rọ̀ kan fún wa tó wà very critical to our success. Oúnjẹ ni broiler. Broiler ò ṣeé ṣe kó sọ yí pé màá manage oúnjẹ fún. In fact, the most expensive feed will give you the best results. You might think, how does this make any sense? I'm trying to optimize my operation, and you ask me to spend money on feed, and you're asking me to spend money on feed. But the truth is this. Ẹ jẹ́ kí n explain scenario kan fún wa. If you are using a so-called expensive feed, I will not use the language expensive. I will just say a cost-effective feed. The implication is this. When you use that, your broilers are going to attain their target weight as at when due, and they will reach the market weight as at when due. Your feed cost will be slightly higher, but what you are going to get is this. What is going to bring your feed cost down is this. You are not going to keep feeding when you are supposed to use 100 grams to attain a particular weight. If you are using a substandard feed, you will use 150 grams to attain the same weight, and you will not even achieve it. So at the end of the day, you find out that cost-wise, you are being foolish when we are using poor quality feed. At the end of the day, feed efficiency, there is no, when it comes to broiler management, least cost production does not apply. To be honest with you, it doesn't apply. But you will get your money back because there is efficiency. I have an Excel sheet here. I'm not sure I will be able to share it with you, but you can see me privately, or you can contact me privately. And my email is being circulated around. If you want this presentation, I will send it to you, and I will send that Excel sheet to you. You will see the cost effectiveness of a broiler operation when you don't compromise on quality. That is when you make the most money in the broiler. So, this issue of feed, particularly with this slide I'm showing you, when your broilers have fast and easy access to feed during the first few hours when they arrive, usually you let your birds enjoy the environment. You leave them, don't disturb them. Go back and look at them after 2 hours of placing them and check their crops. You know what the crop is? You can see what that person is doing here. Is that soft part at the front. After 2 hours, you check it. 4 hours, you check it. 8 hours, you check it. 24 hours, also check it. What are you checking for? Remember I said 24 hours. I mean every 2, 4, 8, 24 and 48 hours. By 48 hours, if you touch 100 beds, by 48 hours. If by 48 hours, you isolated 400 beds and you are checking their crop, and you are still seeing some of them with empty crop, you cannot do well in that batch. I can already tell you, your 7-week body weight will never be good. It means something is wrong with your setup. Either you don't have enough feeders, or you are overstocking, or you don't have adequate water, or the quality of your feed is not warm enough, or the ventilation is very, very poor. Many of these factors that we are discussing could have been the cause. But this is a very good indicator. When you do these spot checks, 2 hours, 4 hours, 8 hours, 24 hours, 48 hours, the ones you do between 2 hours and 4 hours, what is it going to tell you? If your result is not so good, don't feel sad. It's telling you there is a problem you can correct. If the crop field is poor, then that means there is a problem you can correct. And those things I listed earlier are probably the cause of those problems. So you go and check one by one to see. So that way you'll be able to say for certain whatever is causing this, and then you can correct it appropriately. Okay? So let's move forward. Okay, so I think let me round up on this particular segment so that we'll move to another segment. Let's talk about brooding temperature, because it's one of those things in my practice that I've talked on when I talk to farmers, some of the errors that they do when it comes to broiler brooding temperatures. Some of us brood broilers as if we are brooding layers. Some of us even will roast our broilers thinking we are doing a good job. Broilers are very sensitive birds when it comes to heat. Your standard brooding temperature for broiler is 30 to 32 degrees Celsius, not the 34, 35 that we use for layers. Please take note of what I've just said now, because this will impact on their performance, on their feed consumption, which is very sensitive. They will consume more water, they will eat less feed at the end of the day, and we don't want that. And your litter will become wet because they are drinking a lot of water. you will not be able to manage the litter very, very well. Another bad practice that I also notice, when people brood broilers, brood them like poultry, and they will say, until they are 2 weeks, I won't stop eating my broilers. It's bad practice. Go and quote me anywhere. I'm telling you global best practice. Maximum 10 days. Stop your brooding. You can even brood for 7 days. Everything depends on the outside environmental temperature. If you are using open-sided housing systems, if you are using closed housing systems, even the easier. 7 days, you can stop your brooding effectively. And your broilers will thank you for it. Because once your environmental temperature starts to go higher than 32, it impacts negatively on their performance. And there is no way you'll be able to achieve your 7 weeks body weight, which is what we are actually looking for. So this chart will explain that to you. You can see. Let me just quickly explain it so that you know. You can put this figure in your head. First, the room temperature. If you are using a brooding house, it's always good to have 2 thermometers. One thermometer must be at the floor level, while another thermometer you hang it, to measure the room temperature. Because the room temperature is usually different from the floor temperature. The floor temperature will tell you how your birds are feeling. The way they are going to react to the heat in the house is based on the floor temperature. Your floor temperature maximum, let it be 10, or let it fluctuate between, let it be 30. Let it fluctuate between 30 and 32. And not more than that. Not more than that. During your brooding period. And your room temperature should read 30 and not higher than 30 during your brooding. Your broilers gradually, after 7 days, you step down the temperature. Your broiler will thrive well. Room temperature after 2 weeks of brooding. When I say room temperature in Nigeria is around 26 degrees Celsius. Am I correct? Even during Harmattan, if your temperature goes to 22, your broilers will thank you for it after 2 weeks. They thrive well with that. Please, let us also note to manage that. Don't cook your broilers while you think you are brooding them. Okay? Good. So, let us look at the nutrition optimization. Like I said, I'm not a professional nutritionist anyway, but I am an experienced farmer, veterinarian, and I have learned a lot in my practice because there is no way you can run a farming business without learning so many things. And I am fortunate to have also experienced a lot of trainings. So I'm going to share from my practical knowledge with you, not book knowledge now, when it comes to nutrition optimization. Good. Now, I want you to look at this picture very well. I hope you can see that picture. You can see that chicken. If you remember the chart that I showed you before, broilers are different stages of growth. 3 days, 10 days, 35 days, blah, blah, blah. This organ, this very organ, the digestive system, starts from the mouth. I will dwell a little bit on this so that you can understand where I'm going with this. The digestive system of your broiler is one of the most critical organ system, if you want to have very good performance in broiler production. You see, the speakers that came earlier, they were trying to emphasize some things, trying to teach us about their product and blah, blah, blah. But they are selling you a whole lot of truth. Nutrient optimization can only take place if the integrity of the digestive system of your broiler is intact. And the first 7 days of life, if your broilers, you place them, they are not able to access good quality feed because you didn't put enough feeders, or you didn't put enough drinkers, or you didn't enough heat, you didn't put good ventilation, or the floor is too whatever, and your birds are not eating well. Let me tell you, their digestive system will not develop, because your critical goal in the first 10 days of life is to develop this organ. That's your critical goal. When they say we are giving you starter feed, there is a reason why we have all these names: starter feed, grower feed, feeder, finisher feed. Your starter feed, the job of your starter feed is to do what? Give you a high level of protein to develop tissues and establish growth. But the first set of organs that is being targeted, it is not the muscles. You don't need all this. The muscles of your chicken are going to develop in 10 days. No. That's not what you need. What you are trying to do is that you are trying to make sure the digestive organ is very, very well developed and it has full integrity. To do what? To absorb nutrients. Now, do you know the reason why we have runs? Most of us, we only talk about runs. Runt happens because of this problem. Refuse to develop well. It means when your chickens feed, they are not able to utilize the nutrients. And the villi in the small intestines, that's where the villi for absorption, that's where they are. Those villi will not develop well, and that means nutrition absorption is going to be suboptimal. And immediately that happens, the next phase in the growth after the organ development is what? Muscle development and skeleton development. If your organs is not efficient to absorb nutrients, where is the growth going to come from? I told you I blamed my mommy one time because of that. Because I felt maybe I didn't have enough food. And when I was a baby, I know she didn't do that. She's a nice woman, or she was a nice woman. But sometimes we make that mistake. Let us take note of that. The truth is that the target of your broiler starter diet is basically towards this organ development. It's not that alone. There are many other things that are developing. But when your chicken develops a very good gut right from the scratch, growth of muscles and skeleton becomes optimal later in life. And you will not have runs. But you will have runs if there is poor digestive organ development right from the scratch because of some of these things. So, please let us take note of that. Because your GIT score will be impactful on the health of your birds. It will be impactful on their performance, on their welfare, and of course, on how much money you make in this business at the end of the day. So, take care of the guts of your chicken. Okay, now, why do we need good quality feed? I know some of us, it's a very sensitive topic when we talk about feed business. Many farmers complain, my broilers are not growing, the quality of the feed is not good enough. And the supplier must have cheated me. Sometimes we say this. We need good quality feed for what? For growth. We also need good quality feed for immune development. Our birds must be able to resist diseases. Your birds will not have disease resistance if they are not eating, if they are not starting good nutrition. So it is also a very, very important thing. But ultimately, we want our broilers to meet the target weight when we are selling them. It is about meat, which is the muscles and the... Now, the problem is, you will not get this if the quality of feed is also not good enough. Okay. Now, what are the key nutrients that we are targeting? When your supplier, when they make their broiler starter feed for you, or their grower feed or whatever, they have some certain things in mind. They are also thinking about the growth phases of the chicken, looking at the key nutrients that are required for this performance to be optimal. So, a blend of all these nutrients has to be in what they give to you. At the end of the day, when they say they are giving you a broiler starter feed, that broiler starter feed must be very, very high in protein, usually around 22 to 24%. But a grower feed, which you are going to give after 2 weeks of age, after you finish your brooding, usually has lower protein, or let me say moderate protein compared to the starter feed, but usually has a higher energy level in it. All the speakers that came to advertise the product also said it to us today. And lastly, we look at the fact that what is the finisher all about? Why do we have this separate whatever? They are not just doing it because they want to market a segregated kind of feed to you. They are doing it because they are targeting different growth phases and performances in your broiler. so that at the end of the day, you get the results that you are looking for. Okay? Now, let me give us some tips on feed, because time is not our friend. Let us look at what can we do better with feeding. I know most of us, we know how to do this job well. But some little things or little mistakes that we make, I will point our attention to it. And this is based on my field practice that I see with farmers. One, when you are feeding broilers, you have to feed them continuously. What you call ad libitum feeding must be adopted the very first few days of life. It is important that we feed them continuously for the first few days of life, for them to be able to get optimal nutrition and achieve their first week targeted weight. And like I said, don't try to cut corners when it comes to feed quality because of price. It's going to impact on your performance. And always make sure that your birds have access to clean water continuously all the time, and manage your feed storage, because sometimes you buy feed and we blame our supplier. But how do you keep your feed? Where do you keep your feed? You have to make sure that your feed is kept in a cool, dry environment to reduce mold infestation and reduce problems for your birds when you start to feed your birds. Okay? Some of the suppliers have also come and talked about things like this. If you are trying to optimize your broiler operation in terms of nutrition, you also need to think about the use of prebiotics, probiotics, and enzymes and coccidiostats. They have their different uses. Don't let me dwell too much on this. You already listened to a lot of this morning. Okay? Now, quickly, let me just round up this nutrition segment before I talk about health. Take note of one thing. If your broiler is not growing according to the target, you may need, and you think your birds are healthy, there are no signs of sickness, no, you don't have any disease situation on your farm, you need to look at some deficiency situations. Most likely, you may have protein deficiency, vitamin deficiency, mineral deficiency. Those are the three most common kind of deficiency problems that you have that resulting from your nutrition of your broilers. So it's important that we take note of that, because at the end of the day, what do you need protein for? Protein is for growth and development. If the protein constant or constituent of your feed is not good enough, there is no way your broilers can achieve optimal growth. It is impossible. And the vitamins that are needed, especially to moderate all the metabolic processes in the body, if they are not there, because you are compromising on the quality of your feed, you also experience the same kind of challenges. Like I said, broiler business is not the kind of business that you cut corners. So lastly, let us look at this slide. Let us look at health optimization. I'm going to advise you, if you are a person that runs a broiler project by proxy, you are an absentee farmer, don't waste your money. Or you have a farm manager that all he does is give you reports on the computer without being with the birds. You are wasting your money. As a farmer, if you are running your projects yourself, or you have hired somebody to run this project for you, make sure the person is a person that pays attention to your birds. You cannot solve health challenges in birds without being very observant. Because you first have to identify problems first before you start to think what is the problem, what is the solution to it. If you don't know there is a problem, your birds are already dead. And then you say, they are dying. Let me tell you one, just to make it fast, let me tell you one big truth about diagnosing health challenges in birds. If your broilers are going to be sick, if they are going to be sick in 3 days' time, especially due to an ongoing infection, if it is a health challenge that has to do with disease, if they are going to be sick in the next 3 days, do you know the first thing you are going to notice? Regardless of what kind of disease it may be, water consumption will drop. Most of us, we don't monitor water. That's the problem with most farmers. We assume water bitumen 24/7. It doesn't really matter. But we should have a way of measuring the consumption of water on farms. The day you notice water consumption drops on your farm, expect a challenge, because there is hardly any disease situation that will not be indicated by water drop 24 to 48 hours before the challenge happens. Before your bird starts to cough, before they start to do like this, before they start to die, they will drop. There is going to be a drop in water consumption. So as a farmer, take note of that criticality so that you can always measure water as often as possible. Okay, so how do we know when our bird is sick? Please look at this picture. They will also tell you, apart from those things that I just mentioned now, drop in water consumption, drop in feed consumption. Behaviorally, they are also going to show you the droppings. How many of us know practically what the dropping of an healthy chicken should look like? If your broiler drops a sheet, what is the normal healthy sheet? What does it look like? How many of us know that? We should. Because if you are going to say, my birds are not doing well, something is wrong, you must know what is normal first. So, as a rule of the thumb, the dropping of your chicken must be firm. When you observe, you go around and observe. It must always be firm. When I say firm, in contrast, it must not be watery or too soft. It must be firm. The second thing is that there must not be a change in color. The normal color should be gray. Do you understand what I mean now? It should be slightly gray colored. Sometimes you will have a white topping. Sometimes you have a white and brown topping, some white soft brown topping on it, which is coming from the seacom. But that is very, very normal. As long as it's not frothy or watery, that is normal dropping. When you see any change in color, any change in texture, then you know something is wrong. So you can easily start to worry that something is wrong. The same thing, these signs that I've shown you here, your birds will present that. So to round up, of course, when birds are sick, we don't like it because it has a lot of impacts that you see. You know, we are going to spend a lot of money to take care of them, and we are unhappy to not get to market weight on time, and we could lose our business simply because of poor performances. So these are critical things that we should take note of. Okay? Now, we should always have what I describe as a result-oriented approach to broiler health if you want to optimize their health. One, biosecurity is very, very important. The management, the one I've mentioned earlier, is also important. And of course, the health inputs in terms of vaccination, medication, disease surveillance, they are very critical issues. And there is no single one of them that you say is more important than the other. Don't say because I'm speaking about optimization in terms of nutrition that their health is not important, or optimization in terms of health is not important. Everything works together for you to get the right results. So a combination of these three things actually bring about optimal broiler health. And vaccination is one of the key things that we do as farmers. So I will just quickly rush through some of the vaccination procedures and the common mistakes that we make, why sometimes our birds fall sick as a result of the fact that we didn't manage the vaccination procedure very well. After doing a good job with the nutrition, with the rearing, with the brooding and everything, but we do a wrong vaccination approach. When you are giving water vaccination as a precaution, when you are doing water vaccination as a precaution, note some of these things. The first thing is that at least some few hours, 2 to 3 hours before you are going to administer a water vaccination, always make sure of water. Your birds must not have access to drinking water. Whether you use 2 hours or 3 hours will depend on the environmental temperature. If the weather is very, very hot, you do 2 hours. If it's in cold weather, we drop hours. And make sure that is observed, because you want your birds to be thirsty before they drink. Some of the reasons why vaccinations fail, because we just assume maybe is to give them water, have the water, they will drink it. But you know, we have to withdraw the vaccines to after a couple of hours. It's not going to be perpetually there. And if they don't drink, if they didn't drink enough of that vaccine water, they will not get adequate immunity to give them protection against diseases. So we need to take that precaution to be sure. Then the second thing is that we just don't do vaccination at any time of the day. Don't do your vaccination at any time of the day. You do it during the cool hours only to minimize stress. Because pets are stressed. It modulates their response to vaccines. It reduces the ability of the vaccine to generate immune response when they are stressed. So which means the vaccine failure is likely when you are vaccinating stressed birds. Also be careful with the kind of tools and equipment you use. Use metal buckets, metal plates, metal cups to mix vaccines. Always use plastic buckets. And don't use disinfectants for cleaning your drinking equipment prior to vaccination, because the disinfectants are going to affect the antigens that you are putting in the water for them, because they are live vaccines and they are going to be destroyed. So, okay, so let me just quickly talk about a vaccination program. This is the last slide. Let's talk about a vaccination program. There is a reason why I want to talk about this with you, because I've seen, on the field, I've seen farmers practice different kind of vaccination programs. There is no one true vaccination schedule that works for every part of the country where you have poultry. There is not one single vaccination schedule that works. What determines the vaccination program you use in your locality is, of course, the disease challenges that are present in your locality. That's what is going to determine that. When you are talking to your consultant or to your veterinarian to plan a program for you, don't adopt my program because I said that is what I use on my farm. Let the person giving you the advice, if you are not an animal health expert, let the person giving you the advice, let him advise you based on the local challenges in that particular environment to guide you on the kind of vaccination program to use. But based on best global practice, I'm just going to advise you, because there are new ways of doing things now that makes life easy. Most people in developed countries of the world, and in Nigeria now, the vaccines are also available. When it comes to Gomboro, which is one of the biggest challenges farmers have in Nigeria today, one vaccination is enough in the lifetime of your broiler. The lifetime is just 6, 7, 8 or whatever weeks. One vaccination is enough if you are using the right type of vaccine, which is applied at day old. It makes life simple for all of us. If you have access to such vaccines, buy them and use them. But if what is available locally to you is 2 live vaccine shots or 3 live vaccine shots, all be well for you. But we are looking at optimizing costs. Remember, one shot that is safe and protects your birds for the rest of their life, and you don't need to stress them to handle them again, you can think of what to do. Nowadays, there are many vaccinations that can be done right from the hatchery. If you are working with a Deuchi supplier that works with such vaccine profile, they can solve most of the problems for you. You may need only to do one vaccination on your farm throughout the life of your broilers. So let us consider that as an option to make sure that we are doing the right thing. So, in summary, remember, under the harsh economic condition of Nigeria, poultry business is not going to forgive you. If you put garbage in, you will get garbage out. That's the way it works. And no matter how much you know, it is always the best to find the best means, the most efficient way to run your poultry business for you to get a very good result. Because in terms of the economic performance of your business, it is how efficient you are able to run under this kind of harsh economy that will determine whether you are going to last in this business or not. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Rotimi. I really appreciate your time. We'll be taking just 2 questions for Dr. Rotimi because we still have a few other product presentation and a major lecture. So one question from this side. Is there anyone from here? Okay, so 1 from here. That makes it 2. Madam.
Thank you, Sam Uluwakemi Ocheduku. Please, I want to ask, is it using of a sawdust or cage rearing? Which one is more preferable?
Yeah, our question is very, very clear. Well, I'm going to speak from two perspectives. And will answer your, Mrs. Ojedo Kwabi, I will answer your question from two perspectives. First, I will consider the technical angle of your question. Then I will also consider the financial and the welfare aspect of your question. Technically, there is no managing system, no system of management that is not effective to rear broilers. Technically, what it takes is your husbandry skills. Some of us lack very adequate husbandry skills. If you rear birds in cages, you can be forgiven because it doesn't require too much attention. The cage will solve most of the problem for you. But if you are raising birds on deep litter, you must have very good husbandry skills to monitor your birds, to organize the feeders, to organize the drinkers. So if you ask me, technically, there is no much difference. It's just the level of your husbandry skills that will get you the results that you want. The other angle to look at it is from the welfare perspective. Me, I'm an animal welfare resto, but I'm not condemning anybody here. I don't rear birds in cages because I think from a welfare perspective, it is not my point. If you do it, you're on your own. It's not a big deal. But in terms of financial implication or the economy of the business, of course, if you are going to rear your broilers in cages, you have to buy cages. And you know what that implies. I don't have to tell you. A 10,000 unit of cage is about 27 million naira now. So that's it. The last question.
I'm Mrs. Florence Agumbeade.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes, sir. I didn't understand what you said on vaccine. Did you say only one vaccine is enough for our birds? Only one?
No. Thank you very much, ma'am. Mrs. Agumbeade, thank you very much. Now, what I have tried to explain to you, we are talking about optimizing your process. I'm just giving you an insight into global best practice and what is up in standard industries. How people control costs, reduce the stress of handling birds from time to time. The vaccination advice that I gave here, I already said it. Consult your vet, your local vet, to design a vaccination program for you. I cannot give a vaccination program that works for everybody in this room because I don't know where you are from. But this advice only shows us that in modern day practice now, you can actually give one shot of Gomboro at the hatchery. No? And it's available in Nigeria. If you talk to your supplier, you can find out. You can give one shot of Gomboro and it's going to cover them for the rest of their life. And there are some vaccines that you also give you at the hatchery that even for high B and Newcastle disease, you only need to give one water vaccination on your farm for the rest of your broiler's life. They are new innovations, but I must mention it because we can't just stand where we were before. We should also look forward to see what is happening in the future and see how we can do things better. Thank you for your time. Thank you very, very much. Thank you, organizers, for this opportunity.
Can we increase that a bit, please? Yeah, thank you. Now, after Doctor's lecture, there is another lecture that we'll be having in the next 20 minutes from Deacon Toromade. But before that, in the next five minutes, I have just two short product presentation from FDH. They have just 5 minutes to just present their video presentation to us. Your time starts now, sir. My timekeeper is working. Time starts now, sir. 5 minutes. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. Great farmers, no farmer. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here this afternoon to present a product that we presented here last year. I was here and I presented a product we called Immuno High GY Booster. And when I presented this last year, and many people look at it as if, is it possible? Could it be done? But why I actually come this afternoon is to let us know that many farms in Nigeria have used it, many big farms have used it, many small farms have used it, and I'm not coming here to come and give the long lecture that I gave the last year. I want to just come here to come and verify to you what people are already, and it's already giving them the result. And I must tell you, this particular product have saved many farms from billion naira worth of loss. And I will not be mentioning names of the big companies in Nigeria that have used it. So I'm just going to summarize, and then I'm going to show a slide of a farm that used it in Kano, where they have an outbreak of avian influenza, and within 24 hours, the mortality was brought down. Then, first and foremost, look at these birds. They are having problem with gumboro. You can see, no, the first one. You can see them, they are not eating. They are not eating because they are down, they are showing signs of gumboro. So immediately after they are giving Immuno High GY Booster, you can see them. Please, the next slide. You can see them now. They responded. I'm going to give a layman language so that you can understand it without giving any big grammar. What is immunoglobulin? Immunoglobulin, they are antibody, and it is what your vaccine is supposed to generate. Let's imagine that the vaccine fail. Then most of the time we have been having challenges on many viral diseases on the farm. Gumboro disease, we are having problem with AI, we are having problem